Now, what is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda, where Craig has absolutely not butchered the intro. Appreciate you guys being in. Look, loads to go through. We'll start wherever you want to start. But look, I feel a bit ranty. I've got to be honest with you. I feel a bit ranty. But I'm hoping that you guys can calm me down. Because I know people think I get a bit worked up, but I know people will think, Craig, bro, it's only the 4th of January. Calm down with your anti-John nonsense. But, you know, I say this before and I will say it again. When Paul Joyce talks, tweets, writes, we listen. And Paul Joyce has said today that it is unlikely, as things stand, that Liverpool will look to do any business in the January transfer market. And this is, of course, not definitive. But I can't lie, lads. I'm starting to get a little bit angry because, you know, I'm around long enough that I've seen this dance a few times. I've seen this tune being played, and the people who say it's only the 4th of January, I get you, I hear you, but the 4th can very quickly become the 24th, and we still have nothing done, and we still are a little bit short, and we are in a title race. So I guess I put it down to ambition, maybe impatience on my part, but I can't help but feel if we don't act in this window, it's going to be a mistake. JC said, why are my clothes off? It's just a natural reaction, JC, to the music, mate. Don't fight it. Don't fight it. That music is, it's being made just to make sure that anybody in your neck of the woods takes their clothes off watching the music. So it's doing its job. So look, how are you all feeling? So look, I'll go through, give you my say, and we'll talk about all the stories that we have for today. And look, there are quite a few, to be honest with you. There's lots of stories talking about centre-back Liverpool should or could be looking at from the Athletic, and we'll talk about that. We'll give you some news on Ivan Toney's transfer price. We'll talk about Bobby Firmino a little bit. Open goals play, a midfielder that Liverpool have been linked to. There will be a little bit on Wataru Endo getting the Standard Chartered Player of the Month for December, which I'm all for. Well done, Wataru. But yeah, look, there's loads to talk about. And look, I get it. You are right to say don't get ahead of yourself, but I'm just not filled full of confidence. And we have this dance every transfer window, right? There's the people who say, Craig, shut up, and I get them. There's the people that egg me on and say, Craig, FSG out. But ultimately, this is the way I look at it. We can talk about the future. We can talk about Liverpool being in a title race next season or the season after, and that's brilliant. But there's also the here and now, and there's a title to be won. And we're in a good position. We're not asking for the sun, the moon, and the stars. We're asking for Liverpool to go out there and strengthen in a position that we need to strengthen in. And whether that's in the summer or now, it feels like we're kicking the can down the road and throwing away a potential opportunity. I just don't know if our owners, and I suppose I have to put Jurgen in this conversation because the truth is I don't know who decides we are or aren't going to go into the market. But it feels like we're not making the best of what is an opportunity that's presented itself. My name is Dane, big fan. Thank you. Welcome in, Dane. Appreciate you. Can we buy an out-and-out striker that can shoot? See, I'm not even dreaming that much, mate. I'm not even looking that far ahead to think to ourselves, you know, could we do that? Could we be greedy in that sense? I'm just asking for what we actually need, what we've lost, which is a centre-back. And if this was, let's say, I don't know, if this was Ibrahim Konate that did his ACL and not Joel Matip, I probably wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation because I'd be thinking, fair enough, Konate's out for the foreseeable, but he will come back. We don't have that conversation to be had about Joel Matip because his contract is up. And it would be, in my opinion, a very stupid move to put off signing a centre-back to see how Joel gets on when he's already 32, he's already going to be out of contract, and we don't know how he will come back from the ACL. So it just seems nonsensical to me that we don't sign a centre-back. Now, for those that are going to push back and say, but Craig, Nat Phillips, now, stop it. If Nat Phillips isn't good enough for Celtic, if Nat Phillips can't even get a deal to go to a top-tier championship team, I'm not accepting that Nat Phillips is good enough for Liverpool. There's a reason he's constantly been put out on loan at 26 years of age, and that's because he's just not at the level for us. He's a good centre-back, he's a good defender, he'll do a good job for somebody. But if we're pushing to win a league title, and that's what we're having to look to in case of an injury, I put it to you that it's stupidity and that we haven't learned lessons from previous seasons. Can we go for a pint? I mean, I don't drink, but yeah, we can go for a drink at some point, I'm sure, mate, no problem. Get the Diet Cokes in and I'm good to go. Neto's the only player I want. So I did find something on Neto actually that David Ornstein said on, I think, the Ask Ornstein part on The Athletic. And Manchester City and a couple of other clubs were linked with Neto, but Mr. Ornstein said that he doesn't believe anybody will be leaving Wolves, particularly Pedro Neto, in the January market. So I don't think Neto is going to be an option. Can we talk about Abu Dhabi FC not being charged and Forest being charged? So I don't know if Forest have been charged yet. There's a couple of things in the Forest situation to take into account. So there was a bit of a miscommunication over the John Joe Shelvey deal. So John Joe Shelvey was initially reported as going on loan from Nottingham Forest over to Turkey. But it turns out that because Forest had already got 7 players who were on loan, and that's the maximum any club can loan out, they had to cancel his contract and then send him, or cancel contract and allow him to join the Turkish club for free. So that's one of the situations that Forest have had, and FIFA have ensured them that they won't be punished for that. But with the FPL or sustainability breaches in the Premier League, I don't know. The best way I think I can describe it to you, and who was it that asked the question, because again I want to try and be fair, Nevlin, the best way I can answer it to you is, so the Premier League are saying that anybody who has a simple case or a straightforward FFP breach, those will be dealt with before April, and any punishments will be for this season. But that doesn't cover the part you're asking about, mate, and rightly so. It doesn't cover the Manchester Cities, the Chelseas, and the more complex cases. That, I don't know when we're going to see the answer to that, but the straightforward ones, like if Everton get another points deduction, or if Forest, as an example, that should be dealt with by April. But yeah, it is frustrating. You are right. We do want to see a solution to it, but I wouldn't be holding my breath for it anytime soon. Talk about Rafa Leao. Why? I don't mean why as in to be a smart arse, Abdul. There's nothing to talk about. Liverpool aren't signing Rafa Leao, so there's no point in me sitting here having a conversation about him. I like him. He's a good player. But it's just fantasy stuff, unfortunately. So yeah. Now, I do want to talk about Mohamed Salah a little bit later on, but more as a word of caution rather than anything else. So remind me later on in the stream to go back and have the Mohamed Salah conversation. A little bit of news on George Schmadtke, which I'm sure you guys have probably seen as well. So according to Christian Falk, Liverpool are ready to hold talks with George Schmadtke about extending in February or March time. Apparently he's done a good job at Liverpool. Klopp's very happy with him and he's gained Klopp's trust. I've got no issues with that. To be honest, Schmadtke got some good deals done in the summer. Got Endo over the line. Obviously brought in Gravenberch as well. Brought in Dominic Szoboszlai. Very much has proved his worth in the German market in particular. So if he's gained Klopp's trust, again, I have no issues with that whatsoever. A game of pool. Love a game of pool, Kyle, man. Love it. Absolutely sign me up for a game of pool, mate. Has Salah gone to the AFCON? Yes, bonkers, he has. So I was talking about this with Adam earlier on. So as you know, Andre Onana is going to be heading off to the AFCON to play with Cameroon, but he's not going until 24 hours before Cameroon's opening game, I believe on January the 15th. Mohamed Salah and Egypt, to the best of my knowledge, their opening game is on the 14th. And Mo departed straight after the Newcastle game, as did Wataru Endo to the Asia Games, after the Newcastle game on January the 1st. So it feels a little bit, I don't want to say unfair, because I don't actually gauge United keeping Onana as a positive for them. But if we had have been able to keep Mo for another week or so, or Wataru for another week or so, that definitely would have been beneficial to us. And look, it is what it is. We knew it was coming. It's Craig, it's Dane. I think we should sign a young centre-back, one to replace Verge. But if we sign an older one like Kim Min-jae, would be fine to grow Jarell Quansah. Now, I think we need what you've said, mate. We need a relatively young centre-back. And There was 3 good names put out today on The Athletic, and I'm going to go through them and ask you guys what you think about them. So I'll go through them in the order that I have them here in my notes. The first player that was listed on The Athletic as an option that Liverpool could or should look at in January was Edmund Tupsoba of Bayer Leverkusen. So they say he's 24 years of age. His contract expires at Leverkusen in June 2028. He's a young centre-back who would suit Liverpool's style, according to The Athletic. He's playing well for Bayer Leverkusen, and he's a player whose profile stood out in the data as being more readily available in the summer. So, like I've said all along about Leverkusen, I don't expect Xabi Alonso to be selling anybody in the January market, particularly with, the title race that they're in themselves and, of course, the Europa League. So, Tapsoba is one name mentioned, and I've got to be honest with you, I've watched a bit of Hincapié, but I've never really paid attention to Tapsoba. You guys have mentioned his name to me on a couple of occasions, so let me know, do you think he's good enough or not? And what type of price tag do you think we'd be talking about if indeed Liverpool were looking at him? Ryan, thank you for the super chat, sir. Said, I don't think we sign anybody. Like Klopp would say, this is how it is. See, I get that. I understand that, Ryan. But maybe I am impatient. Maybe I'm a bit of a pain in the backside. But I don't think it's a sensible strategy not to give us every opportunity to win the league this year. And look, I'm also not foolish enough to believe that any signing you bring in is absolutely guaranteed going to hit the ground running and make a big impact. But it gives us cover and it gives us a chance. So if we don't do anything in January, and heaven forbid we pick up an injury, and we're short again, and we're scrounging around, and we lose the league by a point or two, and have a couple of games where we played poorly, it's not going to take too much for us to think back about what could have been again. And I don't want another what could have been. I don't want to lose another title to Manchester City by a point or two. Those days have been and gone, and we haven't learned our lessons from them. We didn't learn our lessons from the Ben Davies, Ozan Kabak situation. We didn't learn our lessons from the Arthur Melo situation. And on one of those years, we got away with it with Alisson Becker's header against West Brom. Another year, we didn't get away with it, and we ended up in the Europa League this year. So I don't understand why it's always for the future with us. Sometimes there's titles to be won right now. So moving on to another centre-back in this link, it's Antonio Silva. Now, I don't know how on earth Chelsea are able to be thinking about signing this kid at €100 million. I don't understand how Todd Bowley and Chelsea have any wiggle room at all. But they've been linked with him. His contract at Benfica expires in 2027. He's been a big part of their defence this season, which has conceded just 10 goals in the first 15 matches. He's 20 years of age, and he is one of the greatest talents at centre-back in Europe, in my opinion. And not just in my opinion, I think in Guardiola's opinion, and many other top managers. I don't really think it's realistic for Liverpool to spend that much money. I don't think we need to spend that much money. So I'm not just, being greedy here and wanting the best of everything. I just think we need a good quality, potentially left-sided centre-back to cover, to allow Verge to rotate, to make sure that if Gomez is needed in other positions and full-backs that we can utilise him there. And I don't think that's unrealistic, particularly after what happened with Joel Matip. Brian, thank you, Brian. He's gifted 20 Anfield Agenda memberships. Very kind as always, Brian. Thank you, mate. Jack Howe said, it depresses me the way whenever we're linked to a star, people just laughed. FSG have made us look like a laughing stock. Despite success, the little guy. So some people would say that you're just ungrateful, Jack. I disagree with them. I agree with you. I don't think we act like a top club enough. I don't understand it. We have this mindset where we're always told how brilliant the club are doing, how we're performing commercially, and what new sponsorship deals and stuff that the club have brought in, and that they're increasing the Annie Road end, and that will increase attendances, and la. But yet we never have a shilling. We're always crying poor mouth somewhere. And I understand that we aren't a Chelsea or we aren't a Real Madrid. But as by that I mean we don't just spend stupid, obscene amounts of money. But nobody can tell us we don't have the money. And I don't believe for 1 second that there isn't a centre-back in Europe or elsewhere that could help us and that could be a longer term vision for Klopp as well. I don't believe it. And the last one on this link as well from The Athletic is Ousmane Diomande from Sporting. They say, similar to Benfica, his Sporting title challenge is built on a core of good young players, Inacio being one, of course, another teammate. They said they previously profiled Inacio. The Ivory Coast international moved to the Danish club Midland in January 2020. His displays on loan at Portuguese side Mafra during the early part of 22-23 caught Sporting's attention, and they requested Midland end his loan spell early, and then they signed him and he became a first team player. Diomande, I'm saying. Now, again, I don't know much about Diomande, but he's playing in the defence with Inacio, so maybe you guys have kept an eye on him. Should I tell my City friend who said that Ronaldo's better than Salah this season? I don't really care what you tell him, mate. Just tell him Ronaldo's off in Saudi because nobody in Europe wanted him. What about Itakura? So, I did look into Itakura. He's the guy at Borussia Mönchengladbach, right? If I'm not mistaken. We have sent scouts to Mönchengladbach this season. We've been looked at Kone. Manu Kone has been a name that's been linked with us. And the only time I've really seen, is it Itakura, is that his name, come up was when Fabrizio mentioned to keep an eye on that situation. I don't know too much about the kid. But look, between us here, since this stream has started, I feel like we've named 7 or 8 centre-backs. So this myth that nobody's available, that might be what we're spun, is again just nonsense. Players are available. Clubs are willing to sell. And if anything, we've seen in this window, in the reporting, that a lot of top clubs are struggling financially and are looking at loan options. This should be the type of window where Liverpool truly look to capitalise on our good FFP position and the struggles of other clubs to be able to free up finances. We should be looking to make hay while the sun shines here, in my opinion. Jack again said, what's crazy is we only make 10 million more per season or less per season than Madrid. So the idea we don't have that kind of money is absolute nonsense. Just FSG apologists. Mahmood said, so potentially Craig will rely on an injury-prone centre-back, a youngster that might be overplayed, and hope versatile Gomez can be fit for the whole season. Well, I'm going to put in a poll to give you guys your chance to have a say on this situation. So 1 second. So, the question is, do we need, and I've capitalized the word need because I want to make sure that you know how serious I'm about need, not can we do it. Do we need a centre-back in January? Yes or no? Poll is up. Have your say. Brian said, I'm with your take, Craig, on winning now, especially when we're in a good position to win the league and some cups. Also, what are you wearing with the Cheaters colours? Look at it though, it's gorgeous on me. You know, I know, I battle this myself, Brian. I look in the mirror and I go, that's Man City's colours, Craig. But then another part of me goes, you look cute in baby blue, though. So, baby blue won. I don't know what the mentality is, Brian, that, as somebody in the chat said, it feels like we're almost browbeaten at times into accepting the status quo at the club. Like, Klopp has 2.5 years to run. That's all we know guaranteed we have left of Jurgen. And so far under Jurgen's leadership, we've had one of every trophy, which is brilliant. But we could have more. And, you know, we often get told that things like Liverpool Football Club exists to win trophies. Well, then let's win the trophies. And let's win the trophies by actually going out there and attacking the league and trying to win it. And not hoping, because I feel like that's what's going on right now. We're in a situation where we're hoping for a lot of things to go our way. But it's football. These things never go your way. You're going to pick up more injuries. You're going to have players suspended. We're going to have to, in my opinion, if we're serious, we're going to have to attack this transfer window and bring in the right person. Danny said, I think we should get a versatile centre-back who can cover the size like Joe Gomez. Philip said, Diomande is more of a Virgil Canade build. He's very smart on the ball. I think in the Kwanzaa Diomande would be an amazing partnership. Appreciate that, mate. Thank you. Always any feedback on players that we bring up that I don't know too much about is greatly appreciated. Any news on Dom? Not that I've seen, Philippa. I maybe I've missed out on this, but I haven't seen any update as to Dominic Soboslai's hamstring situation yet. LFC Jamie 94 said one problem with Klopp is he has an underdog mentality and he likes having excuses when things don't work. Again, Jamie, a lot of people might push back and disagree with you, but I don't. I agree with you. And I don't think that's a bad thing either. I mean, Klopp is great in a lot of ways, of course, but nobody's perfect. And I don't know. I know there's probably a certain rush and a thrill out of bringing through younger players and hoping to win things, but I've said for years now, and I can only repeat myself, my fear is that we look back on 10 years or 11 years of Jurgen Klopp and we have one of each trophy. And look at the season we were chasing the quadruple. Nobody can tell me that that didn't feel like an anticlimax to the season. Yes, we won an FA Cup. Yes, we won a League Cup. Yes, we were in a Champions League final, but we lost the big ones. We lost the league. We lost the Champions League final. I'm sick of being the plucky loser. I want Liverpool to go and start collecting more trophies. And we don't know what next season's going to bring. We don't know what Todd Bowley and Chelsea might do. We don't know how strong United might become. We don't know what way Spurs are going to go. We don't know what way City are going to go. So this kicking the can down the road shit, I feel like every year that goes by, the chances we have to catch up or push ahead, we're not taking. And we should be capitalising right now on a lack of money from some of the top clubs where we will have access to that money and can act in the window. Queen Nadra says, except Mo, everybody else is injury prone in our team. Imagine our rivals sign players and we're here. Something happens every window. So for me, you can't even use Joe Gomez now as an option at centre back because right now Joe Gomez is either Trent cover or is our left back. So until Robbo's back at the end of January, we don't have that option now. So our centre back situation is basically Kwanzaa, Kanade and Verge. That's not going to get us through. It just isn't. Nat Phillips, there's a reason he's not well admired up in Celtic or hasn't got a permanent move elsewhere. So if we're expected to believe that nobody else wants to buy him and he hasn't performed well at Celtic, that he's suddenly going to be good enough for Liverpool in a title race, I'm sorry, with all due respect to Nat Phillips, I'm not buying that. So yeah, we don't have options. One injury there and we're screwed again. Centre back Lou Sassol of Marseille, said Jonesy lad. I honestly never heard of him, but that doesn't mean he's not good enough. It just means that I need to brush up on my knowledge of French football. You're right, Craig. We're a big club with a small mentality, said Jared Phelan. How is Mo never injured? Man's a machine, to be fair. He's just a machine. So actually on Mo, I want to talk about Mo for a few minutes because I've seen a few more articles starting to creep out from questionable sources to say that Liverpool and Mohamed Salah are close to a 2027 contract extension. Now, I told you guys a few weeks ago that I had heard that there's potential to be optimistic on the Mohamed Salah front. Now, I warned you and I was honest and said, I'm in no way saying that we're at the point where it's done, but I felt a lot more optimistic that it could be done versus over the past few months. So I've seen some stuff creep out over the last day or two, and all I'm going to say is just hold back for now. Don't pin your hopes on some of these leaks to come out say that that contract is done. I'm not so sure it is, but I'm not saying to you he's not going to extend. I'm just saying this talk of 2027 that's been doing the rounds, and ask yourself this: why has it been leaked now when he's at the AFCON? Why is it suddenly coming out now? These things are you always get some weird stories when players go off on international duty. So by all means, Mohamed Salah could very well extend his contract at Liverpool, but he's not going to be negotiating that now while he's off in the AFCON with Egypt, is he? So again, take it with a pinch of salt when you see these things come out. Don't stress, Reece Williams has been called back from loan. Yep, where he wasn't getting a single kick of the ball. But again, we're supposed to believe he'd be good enough for us in the long term. Not spending money in January has nothing to do with ownership and more to do with Klopp. So, I get where you're coming from, Jamrock. And yes, he has said many times that he isn't the biggest fan of the winter market. But I just don't want... do you know what? I'm going to be honest, Jamrock, mate. I'm just sick of excuses. I'm sick of falling short. I'm sick of having to make do. And if that makes me petulant, arrogant, entitled, I don't really care anymore. We have 2.5 years left with the best manager I've had in my lifetime. And nobody's going to convince me that we're not better off getting a centre-back in this window. And I don't care if Jurgen comes out and says that it's a stupid idea to get a centre-back. He's wrong. And he's been wrong before. And his stubbornness led to Arthur Melo. Now, people don't want to hear Klopp criticised, and I get that. And there's so much to love about the man. But he shit the bed there. And it cost us. And we are in the Champions League. And that rushing around at the last minute when everybody was telling him that a midfielder was needed. Fans were screaming. And again, we were given the child of Christmas analogies and all these other cheap digs. But ultimately, we were right and he was wrong. Arthur Melo was a waste of time, was a waste of money, and look where we are this season. We're in the Europa League. So sometimes the manager needs to be saved from himself, and somebody needs to stand up and say, Jurgen, titles are there to be won, fella. Go after it. Doesn't make you petulant. I agree with you, however, he's extremely stubborn in the way he wants to build a team. Yeah, but... doesn't mean he's always right, though. And again, I'm pushing back on you, mate, because we're just having the conversation. I'm not, having a dig at you. But he's not always right. Nor am I, nor are you, nor are FSG, nor the chat. But we've rolled the dice twice. I keep saying this. We've done this in January twice. And it's never really been a success. So hoping and praying that we're not going to have an injury-riddled second half of the season is just... it's just... pig-headedness, in my opinion. Would you be happy if we loaned a player? No, because what's the point of that? We're just kicking the can down the road. Like, if we loan a player, we're paying a loan fee and wages. So the argument would be the player Klopp wants isn't available, will cost too much money. But when you move down the road, you're still having to have had a loan fee and wages for this person for 6 months. And then you still have to go get the person you actually want at the end of that anyway. So it feels like a bit of a false economy. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with some of your comments here as well. No, I'm not reading that one out. Thanks for always being here. It's my pleasure, McGurk, my man, my pleasure. So there is a midfielder called Morten Frendrup that Liverpool have been linked with. He plays for... who's he playing for? Actually, 1 second. Yeah, he plays for Genoa. Liverpool have been linked, Palace have been linked, Juve have been linked, and West Ham have been linked. And the reports are that a 10 million offer could be coming in for the player from one of the clubs. I don't think it's Liverpool though, but definitely worth keeping an eye on. Also, on Bobby Firmino, there is some more news to say. I think HITC Sport have said, or HITC have said, the Fulham, Crystal Palace and West Ham are all keeping an eye on the Bobby Firmino situation should he leave Al Ahly in the January window. He won't be coming back to Liverpool, so I don't see that as an option. Wilder and Sheffield United were another club, but like if you're Firmino, I mean, Fulham, Palace, West Ham, you could see him at West Ham maybe. I think he'd do a job there. Can you say my name? Riley. There you go, Riley. Thank you for your comment. Well, weren't we interested in Andre? Yeah, but we are interested FC though. So we love being interested in the player until they're actually available, and then all of a sudden, for some unknown reason, we're not interested anymore. Even when it's cheaper than we were led to believe. So yes, Andre's still there. Fulham still can't come up with the 30 million to buy him. But Liverpool have apparently moved on. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Because I am believing in Endo. So I'm okay with us not bringing in a DM. I'd like more information on the situation with Bajcetic, but now that Alexis is back, Thiago should, in some way, shape or form, be fit by the end of January, hopefully. And Endo will come back from the Asia game. So I'm okay with the defensive midfield one. I just can't make any sense of the centre-back situation, though. I just can't. As I've said, Gomez now is a full-back for the time being. So that leaves us with Kanade, Verge, and Kwanzaa. 3 senior centre-backs to compete on 4 fronts. It doesn't scream optimism to me. Now, you know Kanade's picking up an injury. It's going to happen. He picks up little muscle injuries quite frequently. Kwanzaa is a young man, and again, the pressure shouldn't be thrown onto his shoulders to make or break a season. He should be put in, bit by bit. And look, he looks brilliant. We're all very optimistic in Jarell Kwanzaa, but I just can't imagine any other top managers not wanting to go in and solve this problem. Like, whatever we think about Guardiola and City, they are ruthlessly efficient in addressing those deficiencies in their squad. Chelsea, same. Why is it that we always have to be the plucky underdogs? It's annoying. We need a left back too. Yeah, we do, but I don't want us to look at signing a left back just because of the Robbo and Costa stuff, because that's temporary. The reason I'm so adamant on centre back is Matip's not coming back. And by that I mean his contract is up at the end of the season. So the club have no want. That's not the word. The club don't have to give him a new deal. The club don't have to hope he recovers quickly and is back to himself. We have an option there where we can help Joel, rehab Joel, but we don't have to put all our eggs in the Joel basket for centre back. We can go get one now. I love the stream. You've made my day better. Thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate your kind words. So I need advice. I've been listening. I've decided it's time to put Craig out into the world. So I was looking at Cameo and I was looking at a couple of other apps, the video messaging ones. But Cameo isn't available in Ireland. And I can't download the app, so therefore Cameo is useless to me because I can't do anything on it. So I need some suggestions for the video messaging stuff, because I'm not going to lie to you, I want to increase my revenue, and if somebody's stupid enough to give me money to swear at them or to say something to them, then I'm more than willing to take that money, because, well, that's what life's about, right? So I feel like I need to get involved in this somehow, but I'm such a boomer that I don't really understand what the best sites are. And as I said, Cameo, the only one I actually know of, isn't really available in Ireland. Who's your favourite Liverpool player of all time? Robbie Fowler. Robbie Fowler. Could you not use Surfshark? I can't download an app that's not in the App Store. Right, some more talk. Ivan Toney. Let's talk about Ivan Toney for a minute. So Ivan Toney is apparently going to be going for the standard Premier League footballer rate at this point, which seems to be £100 million. So the Independents say that if Brentford are going to sell Ivan Toney, that they're going to want £100 million. Where are we at, lads? Nah, I refuse to go on OnlyFans. I just opened the app to look at it and I already had a headache being met with women in bikinis popping up in my face. I'm not going. I don't want to be on OnlyFans. It just feels too grimy for me. So yeah, Ivan Toney, 100 million quid. It's just, again, the world's losing its damn mind. No, he's not worth 100 million. Not at all. No way. I put him in the bone category. 60 million max. But 100 million. For the love of God. That's just mad. By the way, this is going to be a longer stream tonight, so settle in. We're here for at least another hour, so settle in. We'll get through as many of your comments as we can. Any subjects you guys want to throw into the comment section, I'll do my best to address. Is muskrat still the safe word? Yes. So for anyone that doesn't know, I've decided we need a safe word. And not because there's nothing wrong. Sometimes I feel like I can go off on a negative tangent. Sometimes I feel like I can pop off a negative comment and kind of work myself up into a bit of a frenzy. So we've introduced a safe word. Whereas if you think I'm going in on the negative comment and you'd like me to move on and you'd like me to get back to the positive people in the chat, muskrat is the word we're going to go with. So if you ever do see me, let's say, bite on a comment that calls me a bald twat or something and I start going in on them, muskrat, that's the word, and that will trigger me to just move on. Now, it sounds funny, but I'm doing this to train myself because I've tried other ways to look at and ignore the negative comments, but I always find myself being too confrontational and wanting to just have a pop back. So I'm hoping that by using the word, I can train myself to concentrate on the people who actually want to be here, the people who actually have something nice to say and contribute to the chat. How is it spelt? M-U-S-K or A-T? Do you think extending Salah means Mbappe to Liverpool will be impossible because of financial reasons? Yes. I would think a realistic human being would say to themselves that you couldn't afford to extend Mohamed Salah and pay Kylian Mbappe all that money. And I also think it's fair to say, if we extend Mohamed Salah, we shouldn't be at the conversation for Kylian Mbappe. I'm okay with that. I'm happy to say that. I've always said that two things would have to happen for Mbappe to even become an option. The Real Madrid thing, he'd have to turn them down, and Salah would have to be sold. But the preference is always to extend. So, yeah, if Mo's extended, I would never even consider the Mbappe option. Gotta have a muskrat gif now. Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. I'll be getting the boys to design an emoji for the members that you can use for muskrat. And also on the memberships, don't forget we have two different types of memberships on the channel: Anfield Agenda FC and Anfield Agenda Ultras. The Anfield Agenda Ultras membership gets you into our Discord group, which is for Ultra members only, and for moderators, of course, as well. So if there's any moderators in the chat who aren't in the Discord group, let me know and we'll make sure somebody sends you, or we'll get you a link so you can join the Discord group, because that's part of our thank you to you for being moderators. Have you gotten the chance to check out Scalvini? Looks like the Atlanta have set the price like at £50 million. You're gonna hate me, Ian, but no, mate, I forgot. Sorry, I could lie to you and pretend, but I wouldn't do that, mate. No, I'm so sorry, Ian. I'm gonna take an I'm gonna take a note of it on my phone because yeah, I really need to be looking at them. So 1 second. There you go. I've taken a note of it, Ian, so sorry about that, mate. Mbappe is spoiled like a kid at PSG. How would Klopp deal with him? I don't know if I'm deluded in thinking this, but I honestly feel, and I don't think it's going to happen, but I honestly feel Klopp would be a perfect man manager for Kylian Mbappe. Honestly, I feel... I think Klopp would put him at ease. I really, really do. Now, I don't expect it to happen at all, but I do think he would probably be a great manager for Mbappe. And thank you for your super chat, Queen Nadra. You're very kind. Davino, I'm good, my man. I'm good. Yeah, looking into the prospect of an October Florida show. Still trying to find a venue because nobody's helped me out with that one yet, chat. Now, come on. Anybody who lives in Orlando or Tampa and has an idea for a decent 200, 250 size venue, do let me know. Right, more transfer talk because I've got loads of notes today to go through. So, the Anfield Talk posted up something, I think they took it from Sky, about the open goals that Liverpool, or open play goals that Liverpool have scored this season and that everybody else has scored this season. Really oddly, Tottenham topped the list, by the way, with the most open play goals this season with 33. But Arsenal, our fellow title challengers, are all the way at the bottom of that list, having only scored 20 goals from open play this season. Liverpool just on the upper side of middle. We have 30 goals from open play this season. Manchester City have 32, which interestingly enough is less than the 115 charges labelled against the cheating SOBs. But, sorry, the allegedly cheating SOBs. Who else is up there in the list? Where's United on that list? Oh God, are they even... Where's United on this list? Can't see United on it. But there you go, Arsenal all the way down with just 20 from open play, which isn't a lot, is it really? Craig, where will Mbappe go if Real Madrid don't take him and Mo signs a new deal? It's a good question. I think he probably has... I don't think he'd be short of options on a free, let me say that. I think somebody would try and get in there, whether it be an Arsenal or... I don't know, I'm sure somebody would make a play for him. I don't know if there'll be another Saudi offer on the table for him, because there was a huge one last year for 1 year. PSG, of course, could try and convince him to stay again by reversing another truckload of cash up to the golden prison that he's in. Yeah, I don't know. Craig, muskrat is a small rodent. Oh, I know. Oh, I know, my friend. I googled. When you, I think it was your good self that suggested it yesterday. As soon as I got off the stream, I did Google it. And it is a small rodent, you've said correctly. When am I coming to Connecticut? Is this the part where I pretend I know where Connecticut is? I know it's in America, mate, but I don't know what part of America Connecticut's in. So Boston is going to be in... Where's the Boston one? Boston is happening March 22nd. So I got the ticket update sale, and they're moving along, actually. To be fair to you guys, those people who told me they'd got tickets weren't lying. So the Boston tickets they're trickling along nicely. It'll need a little push. So if you are in that neck of the woods, March 22nd at the Foundation Room of the Citizens House of Blues, we're going to be there on the Friday night for our first ever live show outside of Ireland. So over to Boston for that. Tickets are on sale via Ticketmaster if you're in that neck of the woods and you want to come with us. And we are looking to try and add in a Florida show for October. That feels so weird to say, by the way, because the idea of even selling a ticket for somebody to come talk or listen to me talk is just a weird experience for me. But you live once, and I'm rolling the dice, and I want to try. It's close to Boston, said Brian. Well, then there you go, mate. You've no excuses now. Brian's already ratted you out and said it's close to Boston, dude. So we're going to have to see you at the Boston show. Looking back to my last comment you answered about Salah, would you prefer extending Salah or getting Mbappe and selling Salah to Saudi? It's a tough question, and it's a question that no matter how I answer it, I'm leaving myself open to a little bit of abuse. But I'm going to answer it honestly, because I only know how to be honest. Or at least, I always try to be honest. My logical brain said, take the money for Salah and get Mbappe is the better option because of the age differential, because of the long-term business advantage to Liverpool and having a sell-on possibility for Mbappe down the line. So I'm going to be honest and say, if they were the two options on the table, and you've only given me two, which is sell Salah to Saudi and get Mbappe, or extend Salah and not get Mbappe, which one is the better option? Honestly, in the long term, I would feel the Mbappe option is the better option. But I got to say this really clearly. I'm absolutely very, very happy with the extending Mo option as well. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. But, you know, when you stick on your rational business mind and you think, you know, you could keep Mbappe for 3 years and sell him for 250 million quid, you know, you can't just ignore that. But if either of those two things happen, I feel like we're going to be happy. So if Mo extends, we're all going to be happy. If the other situation arose, we're all going to be happy. That's probably the best way I can answer it without getting destroyed in the comments. Benjamin, thank you for your super chat, my friend. Benjamin, you've been so good to us, by the way, mate. Yourself and Brian and many others as well, man. The the amount of generosity you showed to myself and the channel is tremendous, Benjamin. So thank you. He said, "Happy New Year, Craig. Just in the chat now. Missed the show. I'm in agreement that we're stripping my position for the league. Where's the money, John? We should be going for a central defensive midfielder and a centre back. Love the show as always. Thank you so much, Benjamin. And yeah, look, I'm a little bit optimistic now because I thought that tonight's stream was going to go like this. Craig comes on, moans, makes the case for having to spend money, and get told, shut up. You're always moaning. We're all right with what we have. But honestly, I feel like the majority of us feel like we need to strengthen. So let's look at the poll. We did ask you guys, do we need a centre-back in January? And 81% of the 1,200 people that have voted so far have said yes, we do need a centre-back in January. So, you know, we can all be wrong. Would I ever do a London show? I've always found London to be a rip-off for looking at venues. In all honesty, like Dublin venue, I'll give you the prices. Like Dublin venue, I think costs us about €1,500 to rent the venue. Boston venue, it's a little bit different. There is a minimum expenditure, but then there's a revenue share, so it's a little bit different, but under £1,500. When I looked at gigs in London at similar size venues, £2,500 sterling for a lot of them, which would mean the ticket prices would have to be outrageous. And I'd rather not do a show than rip someone off. So that's the honest answer with the London stuff. Can you give me some news about the update on Balgisi? I'm happy he's coming from loan. I'm trying to remember the Balgisi story. I think I might have it in my notes. 1 second. No, of course I don't have it. Oh, there it is. I do have it. So, Liverpool have exercised their option to recall James Balzighi from his loan at Wigan. 20-year-old was due to spend the season on loan with a League One club, says the Echo, but has only made 7 appearances since agreeing the temporary loan deal and failed to score a goal. Balzighi signed a new contract at Anfield in the summer. So, I don't know what the plans are going to be for him, but yes, Liverpool have exercised that option to recall him from Wigan. That's all I know on it, mate, because The Athletic were good enough to write about it. We're all right with no injuries, so definitely need cover. Yes, Craig Gatland, I agree. Nobody will convince me we're not going to pick up injuries in defence in the second half of the season. Nobody can tell me the Verge is going to be able to play every game, nor that Canade won't pick up a muscle strain or knock. So all the people who talk about us not needing to do something, they're always kind of optimists. And it feels really weird because I don't like to criticise people for being optimistic. It's a beautiful trait most of the time. But when it comes to this, I feel it's a bit of a naive take that, well, if everything goes right, if we don't pick up an injury, we will. Because games are going to come thick and fast. Players are tired, fatigued, playing longer because of the stoppages for VAR and stuff. So games are now 100 minutes plus. We're going to pick up injuries. We've got a 32-year-old centre-back who's, you know, having a brilliant season and coming back from that knee injury that this season he admitted he finally feels back to himself. We have, I don't want to call him an injury-prone Canade, but somebody who has had quite a few muscle injuries and has to seemingly be managed by Jurgen throughout the season. And a really young centre-back in Jarell Kwanzaa. Gomez, right now, I can't really think of him as a centre-back because we have to use him at left-back or occasionally at right-back. So I just don't think we've enough depth there. And it's not like we've another centre-back who's out injured and is coming back. I can't stress this enough. Matip's out of contract in the summer. So I can't see how giving Matip a new deal, even of a year, when he might not play for half that year, is in any way a sensible decision. It's just being too nice again. And again, it feels very weird to criticise the club for being nice. But nice ain't going to win you trophies, in my opinion. How strong would you go on Sunday? I actually did out my team last night, and I'm going to record the video tomorrow. It's going to come out on Saturday on my day off. I've gone fairly strong, but I have made some changes. Just, I think, realistic changes. it's a difficult one to gauge because I'm all right if we don't go through, in all honesty. Like, I'm never going to want to lose, but I'm not going to be heartbroken if we get knocked out because the focus for me should be on the league and the Europa League. And we're already in the semis of the cup against Fulham, which we're starting our first leg next Wednesday. So we've got one domestic cup that we're deep in. Yeah, I think I'd leave out some players, but I would go pretty strong. Tito said, if you do a Florida show, I'm there. I stay in Jacksonville. Nice. I'm very, very, I'm almost certain we'll be doing the Florida show, mate, because I'll tell you why. I want to bring the lads out in October to thank them for all the hard work. So I want to go Ben and his wife, myself and my wife, and Connor and his partner. And I want, reward them with a trip to Florida to thank them for their hard work. And, while we're over there, I want to do a show or two because I want to make use of time when I'm over there. So that's where the Florida show idea came about from. It's not that I have these mad ideas about wanting to do shows in particular parts of America. It's just that I think there's going to be an Anfield Agenda thank you trip for the team. And Florida is the most likely destination. Why aren't you answering me? I think you know where I'm going to go with this, and I don't want to see the word muskrat. So I'm going to say, because I sincerely haven't seen a comment, and if I've missed it, it's not on purpose. I don't know how to pronounce your name, sir. Your second name's Daniel, but yeah, it's not on purpose, dude. Along with a centre-back, I wouldn't be against bringing in a striker this weekend. We need more goals to push forward in the league title race, said Canters. Yeah, so a striker's an interesting conversation to have. I'm not at the point yet where I feel like we need to bring in a striker. And that's because I'm not willing to give up on Darwin yet. And we have Diogo back. And I want to see how Craig Holden gets on between now and the end of the season. I wonder if he'll get many opportunities now that Mo's away. So I'm not there yet. Now this could be very much me being naive and me being too optimistic about Darwin. But I'm not ready to write him off yet. I'm willing to give him the rest of this season to see how he goes. But if in the summer we're still having the same conversation about frustrations, him missing sitters, then maybe I'll be looking at this situation differently. What's this one's name? Caleb said, hi Craig, do you think that what Mo's done this year and Elise couldn't do in our system, plus Mo's opportunities for all the attacks go down his side? I'm trying to break down that question in my head, mate. One sec, Caleb. Right, so I made a point, and some people are going to laugh at me saying this. I made a point at the start of this season, and regular viewers will probably remember me saying this, of saying that I want to appreciate Mo more. I want to go out of my way to make sure that I don't take for granted what we have at the club in Mohamed Salah. And I stand over that statement, despite what people might think I say about him. I hold him to a very high standard because they're the standards he's set. So, I guess to get around to answering your question, I don't think Elise could have done everything that Mo has done this season because Elise's had a couple of injuries, which Mo hasn't, so that's definitely in the plus column for Mo. He's very robust. But at the same time, I don't really care what stats people show me for his goals or assists. I feel like Mo isn't the same player. Now the question is, if he's not the same player, do we continuously try to utilise him in the same role on the right-hand side? Or do we maybe accept that he's one of our best finishers and look to get him closer to goal? I would like it to be the second option. I'd like him maybe tried centrally. So, yes and no. Elise is a great player. A great player. And on Elise, that release clause has been reported at 60 million and comes into effect next summer. Sorry, I knew I meant to bring something else up about Elise. So, yeah, I think... I don't know. This is a tough conversation because we're very divided on this. Some people think that Mohamed Salah is still the same player and that the numbers back up all of that. But I've never been somebody that just buys into stats. I'm sorry, maybe I'm old school, but the eye test counts, and I don't see the same player. But that's okay if you restructure a little bit to take account of that. That's what I see with Mo. I'd like him central, and I'd like a wider player brought outside. And I'd also like us to drop this fascination with inverted wingers as well. Would Victor Boniface be good at Liverpool? Yes. But again, can't see him being allowed to move anytime soon. Um, but the few bits I've seen of him, he looks exciting. I'd love a proper number 9. Watkins, what do you think? So, again, I won't lie. I feel like if we brought in Ollie Watkins, we'd still be frustrated. Because I wouldn't call Ollie Watkins prolific. Like Darwin, he has a lot of great traits, works really hard, would be a manager's dream, I'm sure. But I've seen Ollie Watkins miss some real sitters as well. And I had this conversation with Adam yesterday, and I feel like there's a real lack of old school goal poachers around now because maybe the position's evolving a little bit. But I wouldn't swap Darwin for Ollie Watkins. Personally, I wouldn't. Now, that's just one man's opinion, but I feel like I'd still be pissed off at some chances he misses. Garassi from Stuttgart, Russell, is going to Bayern Munich. Unfortunately, mate. Let me get this one up for you from earlier on. Because we were talking about this earlier when I had it in my stats. So it looks like Bayern Munich are going to get him for 15 million euro to back up Harry Kane. Unfortunately, Russell, from what I'd seen today when I was looking through the papers. What's my take on Kimmich? So I'd love Joshua Kimmich. I'd love Liverpool to bring him in to take that Thiago Alcantara spot in the squad. Because Thiago, like Joel, is out of contract in the summer. And I'd love Kimmich to come in and fill that role. I think he'll end up at Manchester City. But, I mean, it would be a smart addition of a wise old head with a bit left in the tank for a reasonable fee. If you were to bring him in now, I mean. Look, I'd like Joshua Kimmich. I would. I think that Isak could be a great fit for us. Could be. You can see why you say that. There's, again, a lot to admire about Isak. That goal he scored against us and the one he scored against us at Anfield last year. He's got something about him. But we're not going to buy him off Newcastle now because Newcastle aren't going to be in the selling business at the minute. They're going to look to build and add to their squad. So I feel like that opportunity's gone. Do you think we're going to get an Asio? No. And I don't know why. I thought maybe Real Madrid were going to come in and get an Asio because they had an injury to David Alaba. But Carlo Ancelotti has said that they aren't going to be on the lookout or aren't going to be active in the January market for a centre-back. So then it comes down to what? Spurs, Liverpool, Arsenal maybe. I don't know if Arsenal have the wiggle room without selling to be able to buy an Asio, especially at the 60 million euro mark. I know there was an article somewhere that said Liverpool were about to put in an offer of 30 million euro, which I almost refuse to believe were that stupid. You know, why would you take half the price that the player has a release clause for? It doesn't make any sense to me. So I feel like Inacio should be right at the top of the list of options for all the reasons you probably think. But I just don't see 60 million be made available to Klopp. Do you think not making any signings could affect us winning the league? Absolutely. Like, if our aim this season was to get in the Champions League, I'd say, fair enough, roll the dice on not bringing in a defender if Klopp is somebody who wants for the summer, or, but we're not in that conversation. We're in the win the league conversation. Arsenal threw away a load of points over the last few weeks. Manchester City, if they win their game in hand, are 2 points behind us. They're only going to get stronger as the second half of the season progresses. It feels like the chance is there now. And I don't know why you take an unnecessary risk when you can mitigate some of the risk factor and give yourself the best chance to try and win the league. Now look, no signing's guaranteed. There's no world that says if we bring somebody in January they're going to be a hit, but at least it's an option. At least it gives us cover. I'd much rather we buy somebody than we end up having to stick Nat Phillips or Reece Williams in there, because let's be honest, with all due respect to those gents, they're not going to be at Liverpool in the long term, so why should we accept them in the short term as a sticking plaster? Dane, you don't have to announce your Dane every time, dude. I got it from the first few comments, and you're heading off for the evening, so have a good one, my man. Appreciate you. Neverland said, Schmadtke is a bad idea, Craig. Jurgen controls him. We need a sporting director who can stand up to Klopp, who would maybe have bought now in January. Yeah, I feel like I want to delve a bit deeper into this conversation, Evelyn. I thank you for your super chat, and it's a lovely talking point to bounce off. So I don't know George Schmadtke, but I do think there's some truth to what you're saying. Klopp does have the power at the club, and he's earned that right. But I also think what you've said there has some sensibilities to it. We do want someone who's going to challenge Klopp's thinking. And a good example of that is Mohamed Salah himself and that signing. Because remember who Klopp wanted, Julian Brandt. And it was, I think, Michael Edwards and the recruitment team, if I remember correctly, that pushed Mohamed Salah as the option. And eventually Klopp gave in, we got Mo, and the rest is history. So in life, I don't think anybody should surround themselves with yes men, because it never works out well. Now, I don't know if George Schmadtke is a yes man or not, but I also don't feel overly optimistic when I hear things like they're buddies and all this kind of stuff. I understand where you're coming from as well, but I don't know him well enough to know if Klopp does have him wrapped around his little finger or not. The Big Dingus said, this is one window I don't think a player is absolutely crucial. Maybe a cheap centre-back or left-back, but that's it. We should wait until the summer to make big moves, trust the squad. So it's not about trusting the squad at this point for me, mate. Let's have this conversation again. So you've said trust the squad. Nothing wrong with saying that. But let's say Canade's out for 4 weeks. Let's just say he does his hamstring or feels a strain, he's out for 3 or 4 weeks. Then we have to play Joe Gomez at left back because we've got no left back at the minute. Or we play Chambers at left back and Gomez comes in at centre back, and we're still weakening ourselves by doing that. So then we're down to Jarell Quansah and Virgil van Dijk to fulfill every fixture as centre backs, or put Nat Phillips or Reece Williams in there. And again, we're weakening ourselves by doing that. They're not good enough. So that's my argument, is that we're hoping for a perfect storm when nobody gets injured, and it's just nothing in the history of our players tells us that that's going to be the case. Canade will pick up an injury or two. Verge will need to be rested and rotated. And Quansah, as much as he's a promising, very promising young centre-back, is it right to have that weight of expectation on him to carry that burden as well? I don't know the answer to that, but I tell you, I'm very, very sure if we don't sign a centre-back, it'll come back to haunt us, because we'll have to shoehorn in people for games, maybe big games, and one game, one loss, one draw could be the difference between lifting that league or watching Manchester City do it again. And I know which one I want. Did I see the True Geordie rant about Liverpool and Klopp? Yes, mate, I did. And I've covered it a couple of times on the channel. And of course, everybody is free to have their own opinions of somebody. I'm not here to tell you yes or no. All I'm going to say is I'm not chucking my mate under a bus. I disagree strongly. about Klopp being a bad human being. Very much disagree with that. But I also know Brian, and I know what he's like as a person, and he's like me in that sense. He says stuff in the heat of the moment. Just is a lot more intimidating when he says it because he's a big dude. And he could punch Jurgen Klopp in the face, whereas, Klopp would probably laugh if I punched him in the face. Not that I'd want to. So yeah, look, I understand it. I get it. You're all free to make your own mind up on that one. But I don't feel like I don't feel like I have any right to criticize somebody for an emotional outburst when I'm somebody who does those things a lot myself. And I know when I say them in that moment, I don't mean them literally. It's just a poorly expressed opinion by me. Instead of hoping for the best, we need to be preparing for the worst. Yes, absolutely. And looking back at what history has taught us, mate, which is that things don't always go the way we hope they're going to go. I simplify this situation in my head so much. I just ask myself, are we giving ourselves the best chance to win the league? And the answer is no. If we don't add depth in defence, we're not. And that, to me, is unforgivable. Because it's not like we can't afford it. It's not like we have FFP problems. Our owners are investing billions in golf and around the world and elsewhere. And I understand these are all separate entities. But ultimately, we know the money's there. Because they put the bid in for Caicedo. So we know that they have access to the money. We know that we have the ability to spend the money. And yes, we spent about half of that money. But the difference between a £30 million centre-back and winning the league and potentially winning the Europa League or finishing second or third, it just seems stupid not to push forward the centre-back to now. Jamie J said, Craig, we need a centre-back and a defensive midfielder. Everybody knows Liverpool are 2 signings from a definite title. All the media is trying to shut our window down. Let's press FSG to sign our players. I'm with you, mate. I'm with you on that completely. I feel like under FSG's ownership, we are browbeaten. We are used to this, and it's not right. It just is not right that a club the size of Liverpool is constantly crying poor mouth. It pisses me off, and it will piss me off massively if I see Manchester City win this league by a point or two, and we can point to 2 or 3 games where we've had to get creative because we don't have the depth. I don't know, and it's year after year. Window after window. It's false dawns, kick the can down the road. You and I both know, and all of us in this chat know, that the centre-back situation in the summer, there'll be some other excuse about why we're putting it off or why we're waiting for Matip to come back from rehab. There'll be some other cock and bull excuse, and it isn't good enough. What about Gay at Palace? So the last thing I read on him is that Crystal Palace won't entertain selling him until the summer. But what's gotten Jurgen Klopp and FSG away in previous windows has been this belief that there isn't options available that Jurgen wants. I don't feel that's an argument that can be put forward in the January window because Inacio's available. And other centre-backs with bio clauses are available. And those bio clauses aren't really going to change by next summer. So the only thing that changes is how soon we try to get a deal done. And again, it just feels like stubbornness at this point not to get it done. And look, the window's still open. Time. But what I take from Paul Joyce's comments of, as it stands, Liverpool don't plan on doing any business in January. How I interpret that is John W. Henry's a cheapskate. If a bargain comes up and Klopp feels like there's value, maybe we'll do something at the end of the window. That's how I interpret that comment in my head. What I'd like to see is Liverpool are in no doubt. They're in a title race. Liverpool want to go and win this title, and Klopp will be given funds to go and strengthen to make it as likely as it can be that Liverpool will be there at the end of the season. That's what I'd like to see. And again, I feel like our owners are one reasonably priced signing away from more positive PR and more positive vibes in the fan base and more positive outlooks. And if they actually gave a shit, which I don't think they do, they'd want to win. And why is winning suddenly an ugly thing? Why is wanting to win suddenly a bad thing? I don't want a participation trophy. I don't care about getting into the Champions League, finishing second, third or fourth. I want to get into the Champions League by winning the damn league. And we have a chance to do it right now. Winning trophies makes more money. Yes, and it also keeps your players happy. Like, whichever way or whichever side of the Salah debate or conversation you're on, I think we'll all agree that Mohamed Salah wants to win trophies. Mohamed Salah wants to be surrounded by winners. Mohamed Salah, Virgil van Dijk, Alisson Becker, Trent, they're winners. They want success. They don't, Mo only has a few years to go in his career to top level. Kicking the can down the road for the future for him ain't going to cut it. Same with the situation with Klopp, as I've said before, we only know for a fact we've got Klopp for 2 more years. How much more kicking the can down the road are we going to put up with? I want Klopp to be leaving here absolutely laden with trophies. 2 or 3 Premier League titles, a Europa League, a good crack at the Champions League next year. Because I don't think we're going to have this period again after Klopp's gone. Rival fans happy we aren't buying players, says it all, said Jack. Yeah, and again, there's a division pops up in the fan base every window. There's those that feel like we're entitled assholes that don't understand the Liverpool way and support the club or shut up. So there's that camp, and then there's some people like myself who have had enough mediocrity over the last 30 years. No, we have a generational manager. No, we have the finances to do this. Know that we're in a title race right now and just want us to give ourselves the best chance to win it. I'm not sitting here asking us to buy Antonio Silva for €100 million. But for the love of God, Lacroix for 25 million. Are you going to tell me that that's out of our reach? Klopp's a generational talent, brought Bayern to their knees 2 seasons in a row and made a success after decades. I don't think anyone's trying to say different, Reza. This isn't about do we like Jurgen Klopp or not. And like I'll always say, I won't agree with everything Klopp does. Still love the man to bits. But I think he's too stubborn. And I think his stubbornness has cost us and him some success. I can't look at the camera with honesty and say otherwise. I know, Craig, I mean FSG to support him financially. FSG, I don't get their mindset sometimes. Like, even look at the Red Sox. So apparently at the start, they wanted to win. And they won some World Series. And they broke the curse of the Bambino. And I don't know where the Red Sox are at now, but I don't think they've won that in a few years. Now they're going trying to plough billions into golf. And I just feel like we're the forgotten child who's sent to boarding school and gets a visit once a year. And as long as everything's ticking along and the club isn't devalued and they don't really push too hard, I want Liverpool to be looked at as the crown jewel of their portfolio of assets, as the funnel to which everything goes, the beacon of trophies and winning mentality. And I don't see how that's a bad thing. Liverpool will end up falling short with a Carabao Cup and the Europa League. Look, if we win the Europa League and the Carabao Cup, it's a good season. It's a good season. But got a league title just to shut them fuckers up who are talking about this COVID title nonsense. And I want the players and Klopp to celebrate with the fans like they were unable to do when they won the league title. I want them to parade that Premier League trophy on an open top bus through the streets of Liverpool and to put right that wrong. Because, God, that is as good a job as the Premier League and Liverpool did with the celebrations, and they were very restricted in what they could do, and fair play to them, but it's not the same. It's not the same, and I don't want the boys not to have that. How are you doing, Craig? I love this club, but one thing annoying me is that every transfer window we don't learn our lesson. Melvin, I'm right with you on that, mate. Yeah, I am. I'm with you on that, man. It's tough because you feel like you're getting dragged into one box or the other. If you push and say you want to sign in, you're ungrateful and you don't. You're an asshole. If you sit back and say everything's great, you know damn well it's going to come back to bite us in the backside. So what do you do in this situation other than hope every day when you wake up that signing the club wants suddenly, becomes available at a fee that everyone's happy with and we get them. But 4th of January, I feel like if anything was in the works for this window, as in like a definitive target, we'd have got them in early. Now it feels like we're back into that situation of wait until the end of the window when some clubs are desperate for money or players kick up and want to move and we sniff around for a bargain. It just feels very underwhelming all the time. Craig, we ain't getting a signing. The club keeps calling back our young defenders from loans rather than signing. So what's really interesting there, Omar, is to look at those younger players they're calling back and make the question is why are they being called back? Well, mostly it's because they're not playing. Why aren't they playing? Because the manager hasn't taken a fancy to them for one reason or another. Or maybe they've had a run of injuries like Calvin Ramsey. So how are we as rational human beings supposed to accept that players that aren't good enough for Celtic, Dundee, Aberdeen or Preston are suddenly going to be okay in our defence to try and win a title against Manchester City? It doesn't square up. It doesn't make sense. So, I don't know. I don't know what else to say, but there's a reason those dudes aren't getting minutes. And we all know as well that most of those names won't be at Liverpool long term. They're not going to make it at Liverpool. They're going to end up elsewhere. Yeah. Sometimes you just need to be blunt in these conversations, and I just feel like Reece Williams isn't going to cut out of Liverpool. He's not going to make it. Nat Phillips isn't going to make it at Liverpool. Owen Beck, don't know. Probably one of the better chances. Yeah. What have we got? If Man City are stripped of their titles and given to us, I'd expect it at a Man City game at their ground. I would rather fuck the trophies in the Mersey. Honestly, mate. I feel like it would be a bigger embarrassment for City to just have an asterisk beside that year in the Premier League to say nobody won the league this year or that year or that year because City cheated. Or you don't even have to say that, just nobody won the league this year. Well, why did nobody win the league that year? Well, because this club was found guilty of a load of financial breaches and were stripped of all their titles. Yeah. So I don't want any of their ill-gotten gains because it's empty. It's soulless. It's like the Olympic runner getting a medal weeks after the Olympic ceremony in the post. You're begrudged of those moments. And that's what makes the potential for what Manchester City are doing even more egregious, is because they have denied potential league titles or European Cups or League Cups from other clubs and other fans. Dybala is available for 12 million. I know, but he can't play centre back. We need a centre back. Like, I'm okay with our forwards and our midfield. I'm honestly okay at rolling the dice there personally. I'm just not okay with rolling the dice from a defensive perspective. Thoughts on Elise rumour to United? Well, he turned down Chelsea. So I very much feel he'll turn down Manchester United as well. Because, let's be honest, huge club, historic club, but an absolute shambles at the minute. So I hope we're in for Elise in the summer. Regardless, whatever happens with Mo, I still think we could do with somebody like Elise. So yeah, I hope we're in that conversation. So to the best of my knowledge, the new clause in his contract isn't active till next summer. So I don't know. I don't think he can be triggered in January. I think he'd have to agree a fee with Palace. And from the reading I was doing last night, £60 million is the best guess I've seen at the clause of his buyout that does come into effect in the summer. Musiala to Liverpool? No. Not that I'm aware of, but Jesus, I'd take it. Yes, please. I just don't think Bayern are going to be willing to sell Jamal Musiala. Why would they? You know, he's a German international. He's playing in a team that have a chance to win the Champions League this year. They're in a title race with Bayer Leverkusen. Yeah, I just don't see. I think Bayern's CEO or Bayern's executives would be fired if they look to sell him. How is the Bajcetic injury? Confusing is the honest answer, because I don't think it is one injury. I think it's a few injuries or a few issues. I'm hoping that it's a situation that, whilst frustrating now, in the long term there won't be any knock-on effect from, and my understanding of it is that is the case. At least I hope it is. So I think long term Stefan's going to be good, and you know what a player we have on our hands. Would I take Elise to Liverpool? Yes, very much so. Look, you have to say, is he going to have hamstring injury? Like, is this a concern? Is he starting to show that he's potentially injury prone? So that's a worry. I couldn't lie about that. But if the medical department did their part and they were confident that there's no issues there around the player's long-term potential, then absolutely. I think Elise is a wonderful talent. Any injury news on Szoboszlai? No update that I've seen about the hamstring injury at the minute. Just seeing if I've missed out anything else here in the notes. 1 second. So Preston manager Ryan Lowe has confirmed that Calvin Ramsey could indeed be recalled in January. I'm just checking all the other notes. So Trent Alexander-Arnold and Jurgen Klopp have both been nominated for the Player of the Month for December and the Manager of the Month for December. So if you can Google, you can give a vote for those guys. Both have been nominated and very well deservedly nominated as well. So yeah, fingers crossed we win one or both of those. And yeah, again, don't forget to vote and support the lads. Stephen Valencia, welcome to Anfield Agenda Ultras, my friend. Thank you so much. Appreciate your support. I think that's it. Again, we talked about Endo being the standard charter player of the month for December. Is it definite that we're not signing anyone? No, mate, it's not definite. I think the reason why I'm a little bit down today is because, you know, Paul Joyce said, as it stands, Liverpool are unlikely to look to add in January market. And Paul Joyce is pretty is pretty high up on the tier of good journalists. Now, I guess it's how you interpret his comment. As it stands, could mean we're looking at the market, and if something comes up, we could do it. And I think that seems to be the mindset of David Ornstein as well. From what I've been able to read from him, he doesn't know of any definitive targets Liverpool are looking at in January, but we're always looking at the market if a deal comes up at the right time. Which, by the way, kind of goes in the face of what we all assume. So, these short-term deals that are done quickly, like Szoboszlai, as an example, that kind of flies in the face to what we always assume, which is that Klopp has his number 1 target, number 2 target, number 3 target, doesn't want to move off them, monitor them for years, and then if they come available, go after them. I don't know if that's been the case in other windows. I mean, I know the Diaz one was pushed forward because Spurs were interested. But it's a bit confusing to hear. We'll monitor the situation, and if an offer comes up or a deal that's reasonable, we'll jump on it. That's not really what we're being told, though, is it? Like, that's not that Klopp has a player and it's him or nobody. So again, that confuses me. Robbo late January return, get with the programme. I know, and look, it can't come quick enough. I mean, I'm looking forward to what we get to see with a rested Andy Robertson. I feel like he's going to have a big second half of the season, and I can't wait to have Robbo back. But to be fair, Joe Gomez has done very, very well in the games he's covered there, and Costas was doing okay as well before him. Charles Riddle said it's not FSG, it's Klopp. There's at least 59 million left from the summer. Klopp decides what to do. See, that's my mindset as well, Charles. If John W. Henry has shown his hand and shown that Liverpool can spend £115 million on Caicedo, your rational brain says, okay, so we had 115 million we could have accessed. We've brought in Gravenberch and we've brought in Endo. So what's that? 40 and 16. So 56 million. So should be roughly 55, 60 million left. That's how my brain works. But the answer back to that will be, well, no, it's a right player, right time, right opportunity scenario, and not we have a pool of money. It seems like every time we have a point, the goalpost gets shifted to make our points invalid. So again, that's why I'm saying I'm pretty confused, because I don't feel like there's always clarity in the decision making. You will be insufferable if we win the league. I'm probably insufferable at the best of times anyway, mate. If we win the league, yeah. I mean, I will. I won't lie, mate. I'll be absolutely insufferable. Beraldo was 15 million, said Russell. So, I hope that my little angry outbursts, they've had good luck before. I'm not saying that there's in any way, I'm linked to any transfers. Of course, I'm not deluded. But sometimes when I go on the where's the money rants, coincidentally, and it is a coincidence, things happen. So everybody at home, same time, look down the camera. Where's the money, John? Where's the money? Want the money, John? Where's the money? Kloppo, John, I'm coming to Boston in March, mate. If you want me to sit down and we can boot out George Schmadtke and El Craigo can step in, we can have lunch in Boston. We can talk this thing over. And we can both come to the conclusion that I should be negotiating the transfers. And, I mean, it seems a logical explanation, John. Seems a logical way to go. Stick it to John for us. I'd love to have a chat with him. Like, I wouldn't be abusive or anything, of course, because I'm a pretty respectable fella. I'd love a conversation with him just to really feel if he's hungry for success or not. Or Tom Werner. Genuinely, I'd love to talk to one of them and ask them to explain the plan, the rationale behind the way we do business. Craig going full Jerry Maguire. Oh, absolutely. I'm going to be going around open top buses in Boston looking for John. John! Where are you, John? Has John got a ticket? He doesn't need a ticket. John, it's on me, mate. If you want to come to the live show when we're in, it's only across the road, John, from Fenway, so you don't even have to go to your way, mate. But if you want a ticket, it's on me, John. I'm not going to make you pay for it. I'm a good lad like that. If you want to repay that and bring me over and give me a corporate box at Anfield for a game, John, fair is fair, you know. Right, look, I'm going to go spend some time with the wifey. Appreciate you guys as always for coming in, and I will see you tomorrow, 8:30, same time, same place. I'll be on top of the league tomorrow from 5 to 6, talking about non-Liverpool transfers. We'll be looking at some European deals, what's going on in the Premier League. So please make sure to come over and check us out over there. Adam's day off on that tomorrow, so it'll just be me. Then Saturday I'm off, so there'll be no live content on Saturday, but I will be live tomorrow, 5 to 6, and then 8:30 on here as well. You guys are amazing. Have yourselves a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining me today. Do drop a like on the stream before you head off. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And yeah, thank you as always for giving me a fun evening. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.